Hey everyone, it's Carissa. Thanks for joining me today. Today I'm going to be using the Essentials by Ellen diagonal window die to create a holiday photo card. And this post is a part of the holiday photo card blog hop from Live Love Cards. There's a look at all of the sponsors. All of them include a personal photo and are holiday related. This is my adorable family. Don't you just love them? These are actually last year's pictures because I hadn't had this year's pictures done yet. So that's the photo I'll be using, and I'll also be using this diagonal window die from the Essentials by Ellen line, as well as the brushstroke joy die from the Essentials by Ellen line. And I'm going to start by cutting this diagonal window die from some Tailored Expressions toffee cardstock. This is a beautiful craft colored cardstock. I really am enjoying these Tailored Expression cardstocks in all of the different colors. In fact, I'm going to be using the sweet basil later on as well. And now I am using some red glitter paper for this brushstroke joy die cut. This is so much fun. You can see I didn't have enough room to include the tittle above the J when I die cut it on that scrap. So I just moved it down and cut the tittle separately. And that is actually what they're called. So just so you know, little trivia there for you. I also used the mistletoe and holly coordinating die set to cut out some holly leaves for this, and those are going to be kind of embellishments along the bottom of my photo. Now, to make the window on this die cut open up, I just have to take my craft knife and complete the cut right there in the center along both of those diagonal lines. It's very easy to do. You can see me. I just went really slow. If you're nervous about cutting it freehand, you can use a ruler or a straight edge of some sort to complete that cut, but it is really easy. You could probably actually also use scissors. I just had my craft knife there, and that was what was easy for me. So now you can see I'm actually creating two cards in this video here, and I'm going to ink up this wood grain background stamp from Hero Arts, and I'm going to stamp both of these diagonal window die cuts with this wood grain background stamp. You can see I've inked it up with some unicorn white pigment ink from Hero Arts, and I've just taken and I've laid the diagonal window die cut right down on top of that background stamp, and then used a piece of scratch paper to cover the top and press that ink onto the paper. Now, because I used a pigment ink here, it takes a little longer to dry, and I don't have the patience to wait nor the time for that business. So I went ahead and just sped up that process with my heat tool. And now that that ink is dry, I'm going to go ahead and fold these back on the score lines that this die creates. And this is going to create my opening window. And I just like to reinforce those score lines with my Teflon bone folder. Now, I had these photos professionally printed. These are 4x6 photos. So I just took them to your favorite photo printing place. I happen to use Costco. I had them printed at a 4x6 size, and so I just needed to trim a little bit off of the top, about a 1/2 inch off the top of those photos to make them fit within this 5.5 by 4.25 die cut that I have going on. And in order to sturdy up that photo just a bit, I am using my ATG tape runner adhesive to adhere it onto a piece of Neenah Solar White 110 pound cardstock. This is just going to give that photo some weight and help it not be so floppy on the back of this diagonal window. And now I am just kind of testing out my design here and making sure that it all works. Now, the cool thing about this diagonal window die is that it is A2 size. So it's measurements us card makers are kind of used to working with. We don't have to do any brain math work to figure out special measurements. And it will fit in an A2 size envelope, which is nice. I'm going to finish off my greeting for these cards with this little To the World stamp. This is from the Brushstroke Christmas stamp set from the Essentials by Ellen line, and I've just gone ahead and stamped it in Versamark ink onto this Licorice Twist cardstock. I've added some super fine detail white embossing powder, and I heat set that. And of course, because I'm embossing on dark cardstock, I went ahead and prepped the surface with my EK Success powder tool prior to embossing on that. And then I just took that over to my trimmer and trimmed those down into little strips. Now that I have all of my elements, it's time to build up this embellishment portion on the bottom of my photo card. So I've started there by adding a piece of the We Are Memory Keepers black and white shape and tape, that little black and white striped washi tape, right across the bottom of my photo. And now I'm adding my Glitter Joy die cut using a little foam adhesive. I'm holding one of those diagonal window dies right over the top of that, so I make sure that that die cut doesn't interfere with the window die when I lay that on top. And to finish off this sentiment, I am going to add that To the World embossed piece right over the top. Since I'm adding this on top of the glitter paper, I wanted to make sure that it would stick really well. So I am using the Be Creative tape on the back of that strip, and I'm going to attach that right over the bottom of this Joy glitter die cut. And that Be Creative tape is strong enough to hold that securely in place. You could also use some multi-medium in the matte finish if you wanted to as well. Now for the final piece of this embellishment grouping, I'm going to add these little holly leaves. These are from the Mistletoe and Holly Coordinating Die Set. And the edges were kind of getting lost a little bit. So what I did was I just inked them up a little bit with some Hero Arts Moss ink. And that just kind of helped those edges kind of pop and keep them from blending into each other. And then I had to lift up my die cut just a bit to slide those underneath. And I did add a little vein down the middle of those leaves using a Versamark pen. I just hand drew those on. Now to finish off this card, I am just going to add a single layer of this foam tape along the edges of this diagonal window die. I've cut it down so it's half the width there. It just fits a little bit better around the border of that diagonal window die. And then I'm going to go ahead and remove the backer and just use my table to line these up and press them together. And that is my first photo card. Now, I finished this photo card off with just a little bit of red and white twine to kind of hold all those flaps together there. And I also cut a little stitched tag there and emboss the word Noel on that. And you could really put anything that you wanted on the outside of this, but I just thought that was a fun way. It kind of almost makes like a present, like you're opening up this photo card and inside is this beautiful photo. And it's kind of a surprise to the recipient. And I think it's really fun to make these types of interactive cards. Now for the second version, I'm not going to do much different. The embellishments are all the same, but I thought it would be fun to step it up and make a shaker card version of this photo card. So I am going to cut down a piece of this window plastic here. Essentials by Ellen has a fabulous window plastic. I love it. It's nice and sturdy. And I'm going to add it onto the back of my diagonal window die using a little bit more of that Be Creative tape so that I get a really nice firm seal there on there. You could also use some liquid adhesive, but I think in this instance, I prefer the strong, fast bond of the Be Creative tape. And I'm just going to position that acetate onto the back of that window there. Now, instead of a single layer of foam adhesive on this one, I'm going to add a double layer of foam adhesive around the edge of this diagonal window die. And I'm going to do that by just pulling some of this foam adhesive off of the roll, doubling it onto itself. And then I'm going to use my scissors once again to trim that down the middle to make kind of that half width. Now, it is very important on the shaker card version that you make sure that when you're adding the foam tape around the edges of the diagonal window die, that all of those foam strips meet up so that there are no gaps in the foam. And that will hold all of your shaker guts inside of that window and keep them from falling out. So for my shaker guts, I am just using a variety of sizes of the Pretty Pink Posh Sparkling Clear sequins. I added quite a bit of the 3mm sequins because they're nice and small. I also added some 6mm and I believe maybe like 2 of the 8mm sequins. And that just kind of gives it a little bit of variety. Now I've removed the backer from the foam tape and now I'm going to add my photo portion on here, and I am using my MISTI to help me line this up. So I've pressed that, or I've pushed that shaker card portion into the corner, and now I am lining up. It has this edge, so I'm able to push this photo against the edge and make sure that it's all kind of lined up in there, and then just press that onto the back. And that's how I did that without kind of having to pick up that sequin mess that I have going on. So that completes both of my photo cards today. These are actually, they come together pretty quickly, and I was really pleased with the way the arrangement on the bottom of the photo turned out. It's just enough embellishment without taking away from the photo. And then, of course, if you wanted to step it up, you could make that shaker version as well. I might not make the shaker version for everybody on my Christmas list, but there's a few special people that might get that version. So here's a look at the finished card projects here today. Remember, this is all a part of the Live Love Cards holiday photo card blog hop. Make sure you head on over to the Ellen Hutson Classroom blog post that coordinates with this video. I will have it linked in the video description below to check out all the details on the fun giveaways and find out your next stop along this fabulous hop. As always, I will have links to the featured supplies used in these projects in the description at YouTube, and I will have a complete list of supplies along with more still shots over at the Classroom blog, so be sure to head on over there and check that out. All of these supplies are available for purchase at ellenhutson.com. Thanks for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed these projects, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.